everyone. We'll fight against Josh. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon scab within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Trump's coming for our unions. He wants us all to fail. He wants us all to bow to him, but we want him in jail.
What's good? Welcome in. I guess you should say welcome back, right? This is a redo of the video I just put out the other day because YouTube, the old Juices Tubeses, is ultra censorious, and they believe them and their gender dysphoric staff should be the arbiters of what you're allowed to say on a platform called YouTube that rise to fame from private content creators like this, putting videos up. But of course now, they get those corporate dollars. So it's more about, being the Juices Tubeses, right? CNN tube. But, you got to try, I guess, your hardest to never say the bad words in the first minute of your video. Otherwise, regardless of length, content, hashtags, it's going to get 5 views. So, again, here redoing that for you. Again, we're focusing a little bit on the first 3 weeks of Trump, and not necessarily his actions, but the reaction to those actions, right? Which is absolute hilarity. The man's come out swinging, hit the ground running with a shock and awe style administration, just socking them up one thing after another to where they're having an issue keeping up. But in true, liberal mind virus meltdown fashion, they're going to hold on to the Chicken Littles and everything's a threat and, an existential fucking meltdowns. It's right. To the point to where they're out here, singing songs they stole from the 50s with the civil rights movement, and putting some of the most cringe, lowbrow, low IQ, verbs that you can to it, right? Because it's against the Elons. I mean, just, absolute asinine shit, grandma boomers that think that they can override the will of 75 plus million Americans by singing some cringe ass song. But Trump has started out, he ran on the fact that we were going to downsize government, right, instituting Doge, campaigning on that promise with Elon, that Elon was going to be appointed to head up that division, right? And they started off with entities that came into being basically just by decree, like the FBI, for instance, right? He was actually incepted by an attorney general, right? As much as they'd like to tell you it was presidential or congressional, right? You said, of course, the biggest meltdowns going around today, and for the past, week and a half now, and it was actually created by Executive Order 10973 by JFK, November 3rd, 1961, right? So an absolute executive order, but of course you have the likes of Jamie Ratskin out here, like they're trying to undo congressional acts. This isn't a congressional act, this is a congressional slush fund, primarily, of course, for, Democrats and their, sick, deviant policies and mental, agendas. Their first reaction, of course, it's constitutional crises, you know what I mean? And which is, pretty hilarious because the only constitutional crisis is the one that they're creating with their activist judges trying to dictate what the head of the executive branch is allowed to do with said branch. So, I mean, talk about overreach, unconstitutional. Of course, as of, I believe, last night, some of those, quote unquote decisions were overturned. Basically saying that, the suing parties don't have standing, but I believe it was because not only was impeachment started to become the buzz around the inner zones, of these unelected again, activist judges, but it also came out that one of the judge's wife was directly tied to one of the entities that's being funded by USAID, right? What a coincidences. So, that's the real, constitutional crises. And of course, the next one, which everyone had a good time with, because now the man's changed his name to Harry Bowles on X, right? Is Elon's, he's the co-presidents, it's the oligarchies. I would love to hear the definition of an oligarchy that's trying to diminish power and funding for the government. I mean, you're not going to find it. That's the exact antithesis of, you know what I mean? Like, these people, they're either complete morons or they think the American people are that moronic that they're going to buy into that. Like, it's the oligarchies but the true oligarchy is when, the hundreds of billionaires that have funded the Democrat Party and backed camel toes, that's not an oligarchy at all, right? Soros, putting in, attorney generals and district attorneys and yada, yada all across the country. That's not oligarchic at all. That's just Democratic fundings and prizes, right? The next, and then of course, during that whole Elon thing, it's nobody's voted for Elon's. Actually, yes, we did. Again, Trump actively campaigned with the man, promising to start Doge and promising to put Elon as the head of that, department. So, again, this is exactly what we voted for, and so far it's actually been better than we could have ever possibly imagined. But these people have spent your children and yourself into insurmountable debt. They're losing their cash cows. How do you think Camel Toes raised $1 billion in a few weeks? That's not fucking real. You know what I mean? And there is limitations on how much people and entities can give in a campaign. So, I mean, that is not real. Like, it was because of these slush funds, right? The next one is, of course, the all famous democracy. But it's, these people under the banner of being the Democratic Party that, do everything that they can and say to commit seditious acts and undermine the Constitution. When the exact definition of democracy is the will of the people, right? I mean, it's technically majority rule, but we live in a republic where the democratic process is a single step in a much larger complex system. You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean the same here as it meant, as it means in Europe. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's absolutely nothing akin other than the fact that you vote. You know what I mean? And pure numbers mean nothing, hence the reason we have the Electoral College. But they, again, while screaming democracy, Trump not only won, but he won democratically with the popular vote as well as the Electoral College, and took both chambers and basically holds, a slight edge in the Supreme Court. So, yeah, straight mandate, actual democracy, these people are, again, the antithesis of. And, they're crying because they're losing their bureaucratic arm that they've held on to for years, regardless of who was in power. You know what I mean? Like, these people have held on to one or more levers of power longer than I've been alive. You know what I'm saying? And your boy's getting old. You know what I'm saying? And, whether that be, like I said, one of the houses, the White House, the Supreme Court decades, for literally decades straight. And of course, that wasn't an issue. At least since 2008, the mainstream media, they've held academia for generations, hence the reason that, most people that you're going to meet younger than, 30 are going to be complete, mind virus infected stooges that just regurgitate leftist talking points and, call you a fascist and a Nazi if you want to debate or argue a point that's counter. I mean, asinine shit. So, again, we've never lived in a democracy. They've had this thing in their head, the old Goebbels, if you make the lie big enough and repeat it enough times. But unfortunately for them, the vast majority of people aren't buying the shit. Nobody, this is America, right? The minuscule minority wants a democracy, and how are you going to win? You know what I'm saying? The next one, of course, is they're taking us back. So we won't go back. Go back to what? Democrat instituted Jim Crow laws, slavery that Democrats fought to protect. I mean, what exactly are we going back to? Trump is a mild reformer. At this point, he's trying to kick that up, right? Kicking it up a notch, because the last time that was amateur numbers. And if there's anything the man cares about, is his personal legacy and apparently keeping campaign promises, because thus far, promises made, promises kept. But again, where exactly the hell are we taking them back to? I mean, we're talking clinical, levels of denial here. It's absolutely mind-boggling that you have countrymen, and especially people that are in positions of power or that are supposed to represent constituents, that come out here and say this ludicrous shit that goes directly against the American idea and the election that just took place, months ago. Again, we're only weeks into the admin. Hilarious shit. And of course, the latest move, the last, week or so has been all about lawfare, right? Trump can't blow his nose without some leftist trying to file some sort of litigation. Again, this is overreach, and most of these cases don't have grounds, hence the reason that they keep shopping for judges. That's why you hear, these determinations being passed down from places like Maryland and New York and stuff like that, because they only go to leftist, cities and districts to use judges they know that they have in their pocket. And, as soon as any kind of judge with any semblance of coherence and a lawfare gets a hold of these, I mean, they're going to be laughed out of court. Again, one has already been flipped. They said that, yeah, you can go ahead and buy out, federal employees, because again, overreach, executive power, there's a separation for a reason. The executive runs the executive. I mean, they have went as far as to try to ban Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, from actually seeing the spending habits and past of the Treasury, thereby impacting his ability to do the job that he was just appointed and confirmed to do. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the constitutional crisis, right? And, if you want to see, again, impeachment happen, that's what this kind of shit's for. Republicans just can't seem to grasp the meaning of wielding power. Again, they just want a mandate. They love to talk shit, on little sound bites and, post one-liners on X and stuff. But in reality, they don't do shit. They should be impeaching these judges. They should be disbarred and booted the fuck out, so that we can actually get a constitutional-minded judges placed around the country, not just the Supreme Court. And we also saw Biden force several judges out that were appointed by Trump. And there's no reason to not do the same. And that's one of the keys here, as these leftists all melt down like, the rat-faced lizard king, old fucking Schumer. He's out here talking about how, the court's got to be honored. The court's decisions must be honored. But isn't that the same guy that was out here making threats to Supreme Court justices, literally having protests outside of their homes, leftists being caught trying to break in with weapons and explosives to kill them? But, I thought judges have to be, honored. And then, of course, they're all famous. No one's above the laws. But these cats have done nothing but break the law. And when you point that out, it's no, you're a conspiracy theory, that's not happening. And then when you show proof, well, it is happening, it's a good thing. And when you say, when you ask the question, how is it good? What is it benefiting? Well, it's benefiting your goods. It's for your own goods, right? But, that's not how this rolls. And regardless of how well or how poorly, this administration ends, if I don't see people catching charges and going to prison, it no matter what, economics, it doesn't matter. It hasn't been as successful as it should or could have been, because until that there's a actual, responsibility and repercussions for so-called representatives' actions, they're going to continue to commit these heinous acts and, blow your money with complete abandon because they're going to get kickbacks and they truly don't give a shit about you. As a matter of fact, they hate you. Hence the reason that all this is a threat and the meltdowns and the fight to keep up the waste, corruption, and abuse. And there's nothing that anyone could possibly say that would change my mind on that tip. Just watch, right? Believe your own eyes and, close your ears to the sham propaganda that they're going to try to send along with it. Just watch the actions. So, all in all, the greatest threat to this country and its constitution are, mind virus infected leftists. They're foot soldiers, right? As again, you hear these people calling, violence, we'll fight them in the streets. The violence in the streets is they're ringing the bell for old scam tifas and also spineless, rhino-ass Republicans that can't or refuse to wield power. Right? You guys tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. See if I'll make some more videos and get some views. I know it's been a while, but if you go on other platforms, you'll see. You know what I mean? It's the Jesus tubes, man. Censorious as hell. Almost not even worth the time and effort. Right? And then also, congratulations to Tulsi being confirmed. RFK confirmed. And Cash just passed along to final vote. Fingers crossed, right? But it looks like Trump's getting his picks. Thanks for coming by. Smell you later.